The collaboration conversation is brought to you by Project Brickworks, the new ministry dedicated to equipping Christians to use their talents and gifts to bring others into a relationship with King Jesus. Project Brickworks is a crowd-funded nonprofit ministry made possible by wonderful, generous folks like you, and we are so very grateful. We created the collaboration conversation as a way for Christians to share about their upcoming projects and how they are using the talents and gifts that God has given them. Today, we have a very special guest, our very dear friend, your friend for how many years?
100.
100,
yeah.
100-year friend, singer-songwriter Sam Mullins. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. We're happy to have you.
Great to be with you guys today. I just love just being here. Seeing both of you.
How has it been being friends with my mom for 100 years?
That kind of dates us.
It kind of
Just
does.
a little bit.
Yeah, we're like the same age. And it's just the most... It's a treasured friendship for me.
Well, we've actually had 2 jobs together.
I was just gonna say, for
We
the
have.
who don't know, how did you guys meet?
Yeah.
And how do you guys know each other?
Well, you were already working at Aquinas College when I
was
job,
working for sisters.
Yes.
Sisters.
I always call them nuns because people don't know what
Yeah,
sisters
people
are.
don't know that. Exactly.
like-
They were nuns, definitely.
Great, they were siblings.
Oh, right.
That's
Yeah,
what
no.
I
Right.
think of.
They were sister nuns.
Yeah, there you go.
Wonderful people, but
Yes.
they definitely needed a director of admissions. And then I met you.
And so we worked together there actually a couple of times.
We did.
I think. And we won't talk about where you currently work, just since it's your current job. But then we worked where you're at now.
Yeah.
For 12 years, I think.
Yes,
So-
12 years.
Yeah, that's
12
pretty
years.
Cool. Yeah.
Definitely. It's a good thing.
So how are you and
Your family?
yeah, coming out of COVID and all this?
You know, it's we're so good. It's Nashville has been, as we all know, kind of turned upside down where it comes to, anything having to do with touring or music or performance, all of that. And in 2020, I can't explain it, but I had the most incredible year in 2020. We all learned things from that. Of course, we learned things that we didn't believe we would learn, like the value of being quarantined together and having to sit down and have family meals and, you know what I mean? All that stuff. But it just, even as far as music goes, it was a great year for me. And that sounds so strange. I mean, I'm kind of a person that has a lot of joy anyway, but a lot of friends, they call me, they say, dude, how are you working so much? What are you doing? This television show came up, all these other opportunities, these big events where everything was quarantined, but still, distancing and masks and stuff. And it was just a busy year. And if you say to someone, well, dude, God's just blessing me. Well, then it means, oh, he's not blessing them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I kind of adopted a phrase of, you know what? I just answer the phone and I show up and I am so grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's been there's been struggles, but me and my family are doing fantastic. We're doing great. We all still love each other.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Well, speaking of family, you have a very unique number of family members. Would you like to share with us a little bit about that?
Yes. So my wife, Christy, and I, we have 10 children. She won't leave me alone. Okay. No. Here's the thing.
That's funny.
We're a blended family.
Mhm.
Here's the story.
Yep.
I had 5 and she had 5. So, we met and it was like, I was a person that always believed that I was built for marriage. Of course, we both came out of a divorce, and that's a horrible thing for anyone to go through. All of us, and so, I just believed that God had built me for marriage. I didn't build everybody for that, but I was built for that. And I just wanted to meet someone. And I thought, well, how do I just get out there? Because when someone says, you say to someone, oh, I have 5 children. It's like, oh, I was just talking to someone. Where did they go?
It takes a very special receiver to receive that well.
nobody's
what I
that
mean?
great of a package, Sarah. Nobody is. And they're
Yeah.
like, you know what? I could overlook the 5 kids. He's amazing. No,
He's like, that
but
doesn't exist.
but my band and I were playing at the Bluebird Cafe, which is, if you watch the Nashville TV show,
Mm-hmm.
it's the greatest thing on the planet. It is still the greatest thing on the planet. It's wonderful. But that's where I met Christy. She had 5 children. We became friends through MySpace. Write that down.
Wow.
Like, what is that?
That's
Is that like
funny.
a record?
It's
but
a music
yeah.
thing now, which is funny that you say that because it's a music-based social media platform now.
Totally.
Not
is,
that I
isn't
know
it?
that.
Yeah. Well, she had 5 children. I had 5 children. I thought, well, we just became friends. And that was a great thing, to have a friend like that. And she became my therapist. She had been divorced a little longer than I had. And at some point, you think, this is great. I can enjoy someone. We're never going to get married because that's crazy. I have 5, she has 5. That's ridiculous. And here we are.
And here we are.
I couldn't live without her.
Celebrating 10 years. Congratulations.
10 years tomorrow. Isn't that neat?
That is so cool. That is,
Yeah.
that's goals.
Very special.
It
Well,
is.
so I'm putting you on the spot. How old are all 10 of your children?
Are you kidding me?
Can you guess?
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Well, I can give you the ranges.
That works.
That's
that
fine.
Works.
Yeah. Samantha, my oldest, 28. I think Brett will be 28. So 28 all the way down to 16. Will is car shopping tomorrow.
Wow.
That's a weird feeling. 7 daughters and 3 sons. And I'll say it. I live in an ocean of estrogen. Okay. It's wonderful. It is wonderful.
But 12 years between the oldest and the youngest, that's great. I mean, Bo and Jesse, my older brother and my younger brother, are only 10 years apart. So 12 is really, when you think about it, that's
not too bad.
That's cool. They're all, similar in ages. That's so
Oh,
so
yeah.
special.
You know what?
That's so
Being
cool.
at our house at Thanksgiving or Christmas, when those are the times when we see them all, but when we're all together, I mean, it's a reality show in the making. It's craziness. Now we have grandchildren. We now have 5 grandchildren, and we're about to. Samantha is due, my oldest, again in July, like very first part of July.
Yay!
And be another one, so another little boy. And
my gosh!
Of
it's
the,
the greatest
of
thing
the,
ever.
The 5 are how many are boys and how many are girls?
Let's see. Well, Jax is the first one. I belong to him.
Yes, you do.
And Jax will be 5 soon. He's 4 right now. And then we have Wrigley, who will be 3 soon. He's 2 right now. And then we have girls then. We have Wrigley's little sister, which is her name is Colby. And she's a baby. And then Ellie and Matt had Rosie.
Aww.
And she is probably, I think Rosie's about maybe 5 months. Okay. And Colby's like 7 months. And then our daughter Brett married recently. And her husband Chris has a little girl named Malia, who we has come into our family. She is beautiful and incrable. And then Samantha is due with Brooks.
Nice.
That is incredible.
It's a little boy.
It's funny. You were talking about like Thanksgiving and Christmas and you guys all being together. And I was picturing you and your wife and your 10 kids. There's spouses and children.
There are spouses.
I hadn't doubled the numbers.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
it's
even
crazy.
imagine.
It's
my
insane.
gosh. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, so you're a singer-songwriter. And
Yes.
I would love to hear, you guys have, I'm sure, chatted a gajillion times and we've met several times, but I would love to hear more about your story and what brought you to where you are today.
Oh, I'd love to talk about that. This is a very unrehearsed, off the cuff kind of thing, but just, in thinking about it, I something I always wanted to be when I was a child was a singer-songwriter. I did. I gravitated towards music at an early age. My parents had music in the house all the time. Simon and Garfunkel, Joni Mitchell, just wonderful music that was really the singer-songwriters, Carole King, this stuff. And I grew up with this. And I didn't really know that songwriting was profession at that point, being young. But I started playing guitar when I was 11. And no one else in my family, except for my grandfather, was musical, really. I mean, they could sing and things, but never gravitated towards music. And I remember there was a moment. I was with my father. We had a green Plymouth Fury, okay? And I was living in Dallas. We were living in Dallas at the time. And I think it was an AM radio when we were listening to Ron Chapman, KVIL. I'll never forget Ron Chapman in Dallas. And there was a song on, and every once in a while, my dad, he wasn't like one specific kind of music, but He Stopped Loving Her Today came on the radio. And I'm in the front seat with my dad, probably a huge front seat. And I remember saying to my dad, hey, that guy's dead. And I just remember my dad looked at me and said, what? I said, that guy, he's dead. And Dad said, no, I would have read about that in the news. I said, no, not the singer, the guy he's singing about. He said, I'll love you till I die. And, and he stopped loving her today because he's dead. He's dead. And my dad looked at me and he said, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe he is dead. He stopped loving her because he died. Yeah. I'll love you till I die. He stopped loving her. He's dead. And Dad said, you gravitate towards music. Did you ever know that songwriting is something that people make a living at? And man, I was like, and it wasn't like my dad was always having these conversations with me, like trying to get me off his payroll. What are you going to be, son?
Right.
But, I just came from a supportive family. But that's when I first started thinking I could make a living. I could be that. I could be a songwriter. So I began writing songs, and my parents bought me this book called The Craft of Lyric Writing by Sheila Davis. And man, it just opened my eyes to form. Songwriting is like anything, you need to learn the craft of that. Songwriters don't just wake up one morning and they write yesterday,
Right.
It's one of those things. So I learned how to do that. I began to write songs, ridiculous songs to entertain my family. And then I just knew it's what I wanted to do. And I felt like I had my whole life to bring all the songs that I wanted to do to make a living at. And I had to learn, okay, what's the business of this? So I was very fortunate in going to college. My family had moved out to Colorado, and I went to college at David Lipscomb College, which is now Lipscomb University. And there was a class that I took there about music industry. That just kind of explained publishing and explained songwriting and how money is made. And so I thought, okay, well, I've had my whole life to get my first publishing deal. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a staff songwriter. So I also played music, and I was playing out a lot of different places. And I began to audition at the Bluebird Cafe. You could audition on Sunday nights. So I auditioned, and I got a Tuesday night where I sang my songs. And there was a guy in the audience, and this sounds just like the Nashville TV show. It does.
I was just going to say it sounds like a TV show.
This does not happen anymore. I would like to believe that it does, but it just doesn't. But a guy named Jody Williams from BMI was there, and he gave me his card. He said, "Hey, I'm with BMI," and I knew I needed to be with BMI, CSAC, or ASCAP.
Right.
And he said, "So why don't you give me a call and let's sit down? You want to do this songwriting thing? I think you have real talent." I said, "Yeah, I really do." So this was like Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, I'm calling the guy.
Yeah, right.
So I called him every day, and it's not like he wouldn't take my calls. He did not take my calls. He was a busy man. So I was about maybe a week later of every day calling him. And he answered the phone. He said, "The busiest guy, most persistent man in Nashville, Sam Mullins. Yes, come down here." We set an appointment. And through that, I started playing my songs. Well, he said, "These are good songs. You need to record them professionally." Okay. So it's a story like a lot of people tell. My parents gave me some money. I went into a studio and I recorded 5 songs, and interesting. A lot more came from that recording than just a publishing deal. It was the guy that I met that actually led me to Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Was through all that, and which was the biggest thing in my life.
Yeah.
So, from that, I started playing out, doing publishing things. I actually got a record deal with Warner Brothers Records. It was just the craziest time in my life. I look back on those times. I was so clueless, but I remember learning. We'll talk about the publishing part of it, right now, because I remember my first publishing deal was with a guy named Woody Bomar in a company called Little Big Town, long before there was a band called Little Big Town. And I sat down and I had something to bring to the table. There was a group called the Tennessee River Boys that I'd gone to college with, the lead singer, which became a group called Diamond Rio. Yep. And they were looking for a bass player. And so I auditioned and I didn't get it. You would know if I was in Diamond Rio. They chose Dana. It was down to about 3 of us. They chose Dana, and I know why they chose him. He was better than me. That's all it was. He was better than me. But I had played a song that I had written that I'd recorded in that 5-song recording session called They Don't Make Hearts Like They Used To. And the band said, you know what? We really want to record that song. We've got a deal with Arista, new label in town. We'd love to record that song. So when I met with Woody Bomar, I said, yeah, I've got a song that looks like it's going to be on an album. He was like, really? He didn't have to pitch it or anything. And wow. I was so green. Just remembering the lessons that I learned from him. Here's one of them. I remember playing him my songs, and he said, Sam, these are great songs. And I just wanted to be Dan Fogelberg, James Taylor. I wanted to be Henry David Thoreau or Robert Frost with a guitar. I wanted to be, deep. T.S. Eliot. I gravitated towards these authors and these. I loved all 3 of those. And so everything had real deep meanings. And I remember him saying to me, and this is what a lot of songwriters learn when they come to town. Wow, Sam, I really love this one. I really love it. Can you get to the chorus in 1 minute? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I said, is that a thing? I mean, I need to do that. And these thoughts go through my head. Do you think Elton John said to Bernie Taupin, Bernie, this is best about I miss my wife and all that. No, he's a rocket man. Let's get to the chorus. I don't think that happened, Right. But it was a different world when it's about keeping something to 3 minutes, keeping attention, and it's about advertising dollars. It is. It's about advertising. So, wow. Those lessons kind of from there, I kind of went from deal to deal to deal. And my songwriting career has been one that I'm just, again, very grateful for. Always surprised. I just always expected for the publishers to play songs for the record labels, and they like them and they record them. And that's really, sometimes that happens. Everything you see behind me, or every song that I had recorded by a major label recording artist, was not the traditional way. The Michael W. Smith thing back there, it was writing with the artist, getting to write with the artist. Or, I had one single that I was so proud of. There's nothing like hearing a song you wrote on the radio. Oh, all right. It's one thing that's saying, kids, we're going to Walmart. We're going to buy this album because Dad's got a song on it. But when you hear something on the radio, there's nothing like that. And the song was called I Can't Stop Thinking About That. And it literally was turned down by the president of the record label, by the A&R people. But my publisher was crazy. And he snuck that song into a tape box on their bus. He probably broke in. I don't know. I better not say his name. He's a wonderful man. But they heard the song, and all of them were like that. It was, you get a song to the artist's hairdresser, and she plays. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just, no one's going to work harder for you than you. And, everybody has that story, but I do remember that song. If the first time you accomplish a major goal in your life, like I want to hear something that I wrote on the radio. It doesn't have to be me, but as a songwriter, that's going to be a moment. And I'd had the Diamond Rio thing. I'd had other things, but nothing was a single yet. And I remember I was stuck in traffic, and my publisher let me know this is going to be a single. It's coming out in the next couple of weeks. We don't know when. And I am stuck on the interstate going to a writing appointment. I mean, I-40, okay? I-40 West, going downtown. And there I am, and I hear I'm listening to the Big 98, which wasn't Bobby Bones in those days. It was Jerry House. And I hear the beginning guitar riff. And I'm like, this is it. This is a major goal in my life. It's being accomplished. And you want to be at a party with all your friends, right? When that happens. No, I'm by myself in my car, a Toyota Tercel that smells terrible because there's a diaper in there somewhere that I can't find. And I did, it's just me and Jesus, and it was awesome. And I did what any self-respecting songwriter would do. I mean, we're not moving in traffic. So I roll down the windows, I crank that thing up, and there's one of those Beamer Z cars next to me, And I go, dude, I wrote this song.
Oh my gosh.
Pitiful.
That is so cool.
It's pitiful.
So
it's pitiful.
No.
So he looked at me like, so?
Okay, but to be fair, if that happened in this day and age, you bet your bottom dollar someone would get on the live stream on Facebook or on Instagram and live stream it happening.
Oh, you're right.
You know what I mean? So
right.
That was your version of it.
Yeah.
I was just telling the guy next to you.
Well, so while we're talking about it, what are those songs that are up on the wall?
Oh, let's see. Back Behind Me.
Yeah.
The top two is Diamond Rio.
Okay.
One of them is gold, and the other one is platinum.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my favorite cut is the one below that one. That is Michael W. Smith, and a cool thing. No Christian artist had ever gone gold in 4 weeks. Very few Christian artists go gold.
Wow.
Maybe today they do, but maybe not. But that album went gold in 4 weeks, and it broke every record in contemporary Christian music. And it didn't hurt that it was coming off a big single. Place in This World was a huge song that crossed over. And then Michael W. Smith, who is the most wonderful, real deal guy you will ever meet. I mean, he is the real deal.
Yeah.
Okay. He is what he claims to be.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you that. Having that happen it's just unheard of. It's kind of the neatest thing. And the neatest thing about that was even neater than the fact that I got a gold record out of it and put a lot of diapers on my kids with it. That song was a song that it was kind of a deep cut. It wasn't a single or anything, but it was a song that he closed all of his concerts with. And I wasn't sure he was going to play it. It was just kind of a neat song. It was a real prodigal song. Like, what are you waiting for? I'm waiting for you, And we really got the whole idea from Oswald Chambers. Seriously, just doing one of his daily devotional book.
Yeah.
And it was a really kind of a cool thing, to hear him do that. It was one of those major goals. I always wanted to hear something I'd written on the radio. I always wanted to be in a sold out civic center where the artist is singing something that I wrote as well.
Yes.
And it was a moment like that. I thought the concert was over and, they hadn't turned the lights on yet, but they didn't play the song. And I was like, that's okay. It was a great night. And then he walks out and like this piano comes up from underneath the stage and he sits down and starts playing it. And I just remember that feeling of, this is a major goal in my life.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Wow.
But he set it up for, this is a chance. This song is for you. If you've walked away from God, he is waiting for you right now. He never left you. You may have felt like you left him, but he never left you. So it was set up for people to come forward. There were pastors from all over the city to pray with people. And it was just kind of funny. As soon as, I got that big puffed up feeling, this is awesome. I'm awesome. You know what I'm saying? Just the ridiculousness of that. It hit me that this song is stirring in people's hearts to come back to God. And I went from, to just, oh my word, I almost couldn't breathe. And I began to weep like a child. I just cried. And the neatest thing about it was after it was over and everything, I got up, got my coat. I had nosebleed seats, This is at Murphy Center, okay? And there's this very beautiful, attractive couple behind me just looking at me. And he said, "We'd love to pray with you." And what are you going to do? No, dude, I wrote that song. No, you can't say that.
Right.
You just go, "Thanks, man." Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Which is so funny because I bet you they remember that night very differently than you remember it. That's awesome. That's so
Well, no, they were thinking this guy's losing it. He needs to go forward.
Yeah, totally.
But
That was incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
nuts.
I can't even imagine what that feeling is like. And you've had it twice. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
probably,
there are
At least
greater
twice.
feelings in that in the world, but it's a wonderful thing to, thanks you guys for letting me talk about it. I never talk about it. I don't even, in talking about it makes me remember how faithful God is.
Yeah. Oh, amen.
I was just thinking about that when you were talking about how you had this feeling of like, man, that's my song. I'm awesome. And then you realized what it was being used for. It was being used as an altar call. And I mean, God is so good. And he just likes to surprise us in those ways.
You nailed it, Sarah. He does.
And it honestly is, it's such a cool moment that kind of encompasses what we're all about and what we're all about talking about. And that's using your talents and gifts. And that God's going to use you using those talents and gifts that he's given you to bring others into a relationship with Jesus. Like that's what he's going to do. And that was just a moment. That's just such a tangible, actual, true event moment that we can apply to this. That's just really cool. That was awesome.
Well, okay. So let's talk a little bit though about talents and gifts. Obviously we know you're a songwriter. And we really haven't talked about this much, but you're a great guitar player.
Thank you.
You're a very good singer.
Well, your personality is a gift in and of itself. You're just such a light. It's the glass is always full type. That is a gift. Whether that's a spiritual gift, I don't know, but it's not. But that is a talent and gift that God gave you. Just the super infectious, welcoming, inviting personality.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
But have you, over the years, identified anything? I know that you were a worship leader for a while, and you're in a worship team at your church. But anything else that you've kind of identified?
Identified is a good word, because you got to figure out, what is your identity? Do you know what I mean? And what are you chasing? And I can tell you right now, at this time in my life, where I am right now, it's fascinating. I did make mention to recording 5 songs earlier. That was a moment in my life that led to where I am now, that was bigger than hearing something I wrote on the radio or being in a sold out civic center. That's when I became born again. All right. Now that's a phrase that in the late 70s was on bumper stickers. Okay. Right. And it felt like it was a kind of a Baptist campaign. You know what I mean? I love the Baptists. They do all the work, but it's interesting because, in talking about identity, I grew up in a family that loved Jesus. We were at church 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Saturday night, Wednesday night.
Right.
And I'm thankful for that. I don't regret any of my teaching growing up in the Church of Christ. I don't. It was a wonderful upbringing. But me personally, I had a tragedy happen in my life. My last year of college, where I was the only survivor of a car accident, and I lost someone very dear to me who I probably would have married, and I just walked away. I did, from what I knew. I couldn't make sense of it. Now, in the big picture, God knew I would come back.
Yes.
but I didn't. And, it's interesting how God puts people in our lives. I met this guy named Michael Demas, he and his wife, Nancy. I just wanted to be this guy. He was extremely cool. He had the coolest hair ever. And he played every instrument. I mean, he was amazing. And through a mutual friend, I set up with him. And so we spent about 2 weeks together recording with my parents, fronting me the money for this. I think James Taylor has that story too. How his parents gave him money to go to London. Well, at the end of 2 weeks, this is ready. And I remember I looked at him and I said, you know what? I know we're done and I'm so excited about this music. It sounds so good, but I'm really almost sad that I'm not going to be hanging out with you. I mean, it's kind of like, he does this for a lot of people and it was a lot of money. And, but I just really loved the guy and I loved his wife, Nancy. And he said the most interesting thing to me. He said, yeah, I know what that is. Like that sounds so egotistical, doesn't it?
Right.
It's hard to be me. The struggle is real. But no, he said, I know what that is. And I said, okay, what is it?
Tell me.
Yeah, please enlighten me. And he said, Sam, you're not really drawn to me. It's not me. He said, you are hungry. You are drawn to Jesus that's in me. You are. I know it. I've sought God about it. Nancy feels the same way. And he said, I said, well, yeah, I'm not sure that's it, but dude, you're really cool, and he said, I said, cause I grew up in church and I know Jesus, and he said the coolest thing to me, when somebody really talks to you, he said, yeah, bro, you don't know him, man. I spent 2 weeks with you. You know about him, but you don't know him. I know you don't know him. Just knowing what I know about you, your life, just the fruit of your life. You're very gifted, very talented. Think you're going to go places, but you don't know him. But I really want to introduce you to him. Why don't you come to church with me?
Wow.
And I did. And it was this church called Belmont Church downtown.
Yep.
And Don Finto was pastor there. And the coolest thing happened. It's funny. Michael W. Smith was leading worship there. I had no idea how that man would come into my life later. Yeah. And I just couldn't stop crying in worship, and I grew up with a cappella worship, which is incredible to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I had not experienced this kind of worship, and I said, dude, what's wrong with me? I can't stop crying, And he said, Sam, the Holy Spirit's just breaking up all that stuff. Just go with it. And then with him and his wife, I asked the Lord to come into my heart, and I had a born again experience. Awesome. Now with that, some people may not have that. They know when they came from darkness, and I was pretty much in darkness. I mean, the gig that I had, I sang at Hooters, y'all. That's a terrible gig for a married man to have, and it just, my walk, I didn't have a walk, but, the most interesting thing about all that is that I know when I got saved. I know when it happened. And so for me, that's when somebody came to live with me. You know what I mean?
Yep,
and it's different.
absolutely.
You don't have to remember the day you were saved. A lot of people have been saved their whole life. They grew up in church. They knew that. And I grew up in church, but for me, it's kind of like getting married. It's very similar to that. When you get married, someone comes to live with you, right?
Literally.
You know what I mean? And they're living with you ever since. Exactly. Well, and you might forget the day you were married once. He's like, I only did that one time. Forget the event. You're never going to forget the event. And that's what it was like for me. It was like
beautiful.
The Lord came to live with me that day. And it's so cool. So
that
cool.
Is beautiful.
That's changed everything. And now talk about identity. Now where I am today, it's the coolest thing. God's just blessing me so much. So much is going on with my music and opportunities to sing and make a living at it. And it's crazy. But my identity was wrapped up in chasing that dream. Mm-hmm. It literally was my God. You know, I had 2 record deals with major labels and it didn't happen. And I kept wondering, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this happening? Why do people know me as, you know, one of the most talented people that you're never going to hear about? You know, it's like, why is that? Why do people say things like that? And the coolest thing is that I can look back and know my identity was not centered in the Lord in those days. And I believe that God loves me that much, because if the Warner Brothers things would have taken off, there's probably children that I have that would not be here.
Oh, right.
Really, seriously, I would have been gone all the time.
Yeah.
You know, the Arista thing, there's just things that wouldn't happen. And everything that was a failure that wasn't a failure.
It wasn't.
You know, it wasn't, because it led me to this place. It led me, you know, my life with Christy. It led me to my walk with God. And it's funny, I'm not better than I used to be at 57, you know, but at 57, all these opportunities that I chased for so long that I wanted and were my God, now they're coming to me when, okay, that sounds great.
Neat.
You know, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh.
Well, but speaking of these opportunities,
Yeah.
So
What are they?
You've been on TV numerous times in the last 6 months. What's going on there?
I have. I was playing a thing for the church that I go to, like one of those things that happens around October. You know, we have a harvest festival or something like that. I was playing on a flatbed truck, and I met this really one of the coolest guys in my life ever. His name's Corley. And he's also the head of the worship department at the church that we go to. But he is the band leader for the Huckabee Show. Now, I love Mike Huckabee. I've always followed Huckabee. He makes things simple for me to understand. And he asked me, he said, "Dude, do you ever sing background vocals? You ever do that?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I get a lot of work doing that." They said, "Cool. I'm going to call you about something later." And this was during COVID. So I'm going to call you about something later. We can't really do anything right now, but call you about something later. And he presented me with an opportunity to be a part of this wonderful television show called the Huckabee Show, and his team, which is called the Music City Connection. Mm-hmm. And they are the band, and I'm talking about one of the best bands. I mean, they are the Saturday Night Live band. They are the Letterman band. You know, he is Paul Schaefer in this scenario.
Totally.
One of the most gifted session players and musicians I've ever worked with. But getting to sing on television, you guys, that's really good money.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so much fun. It's like Oz, you know. It just is. You look at this place and they've got it looks like you're on American Idol. The way it's TVN. And Mike Huckabee was on Fox, and I think he just wanted to have a little more control of doing the show his way. So moved the show to TBN, and then of course it's news. It's a news show, but it's also entertainment,
right?
And getting to know those people, and just getting to get to know Mike Huckabee, and he makes everybody that he's talking to the most important person in the room. You know. It's just,
awesome.
and being a part of what I feel, a television show that I feel like is important, you know, just got to give an opportunity.
Absolutely. So, well, that's a talent of his that he's obviously using.
Oh, totally. But you, I don't know if it was the most recent episode, but you got to catch up with Michael W. Smith.
I did. That was the neatest thing. There was this neat event that happened. I haven't seen Michael in over 20 years. You know, I've been in the same room with him, you know, and you know, we just knew each other through writing. You know, I didn't hang out with him or anything like that. I had friends that played in his band, and I knew the coolest stories ever. But after we had done sound check, we had a moment where, you know, it's time for him to go, you know, do hair and makeup and all that stuff that you have to do. And he looks at me and he goes, and I said, "Yes." He said, "Sam?" I said, "Yeah."
Aww.
Yeah, Sam Mullins. And he said, "What song was it?" I said, "Waiting for You." And he said, "Oh my word." He said, "Sam, I can't believe that you're here today. I can't, because I just rewrote a musical bridge for that song. Let me play it for you." And so he said, everybody's like, so he said, so go to the piano with me. So he sits down at the piano and he starts playing the song. And of course, it's a real moment for everyone in the studio to just gather around the piano. And I haven't heard that song in so long. I'm just not one of those people that plays all the songs that I heard. I hadn't heard it. And so he begins to play it. And it's a favorite song for many, many people. It is. As he began to play it, I'm having a moment. You know what I mean? Sweet. I'm having this moment, I'm kind of losing it here. And then he says, I've got this B section here it goes right here. It says, imagine this with 150 piece orchestra or something to that. And he goes to this incredible musical place. He is such a genius musically. He is. Yeah. And it was incredible. And it was just a real moment. And he said, there's an opportunity. That song may be able to be something that I'm going to Italy and I'm doing this thing with Andrea Bocelli. And it may be something that I get to do with him. I have no idea if that happened or not. Yeah. That's coming out. That would be nice for the resume. Oh, I wrote something that Andrea Bocelli.
Right.
Oh, my word. My mom's in heaven right now, but she's going to love that. Okay.
Yes, she will. Yes, she will.
But, I don't even know if that happened or if it didn't. But that moment with him and then the coolest thing happened. He looks at me and goes, man, thanks so much for writing that song. Thank you so much. Because that song's done so much for so many people. And it's one of my favorites.
That's
and
awesome.
Where
what
you want your friends to be around when you have a moment like that.
Yep.
All my friends that I work with on that show were around like, dude, you wrote that song. I'm like, yeah. I want to go, heck yeah, I wrote that song, man. I wrote lyrics to that song. He wrote the music. David Mullins and I together wrote lyrics to that song. So.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's a blast from the past too.
Oh, love that guy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, so there was somebody else you had mentioned as we were talking earlier that you got to maybe meet or saw on the show that is a favorite of ours.
Oh, Tim Tebow?
Yes.
I wasn't on that show, but my word, what a that
dude.
Guy. Talk about who he says he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someday we'll have him on the show. I'm gonna just say that now. I'm putting it out there.
He's a little
that
busy.
Needs to happen.
He is a little busy.
I think he just got a new football contract.
Yeah, he just got a new job.
Yeah,
a new old job.
That. I heard the guy's going back into pro football.
Yep, he is.
That's so funny.
Well, okay. Well, tell our listeners where they can find out more about you, where they can connect with you, listen to your music.
I've got a Facebook page, Sam Mullins Music. There's a website, sammullinsmusic.com. Give me a couple of days to get that back up and making sure. It's been a while. Okay. And I do have a project coming out that I'm super excited about.
Tell us about it.
It's just, it's a collective work. You could call it an EP. It's about 6 songs. We're going to stream it, I just said that word, streaming, but that's kind of how we get music these days. Just all your major streaming sources like Apple Music and Spotify and Pandora, all that stuff. It'll be coming out. The first single was one that I did a little pre-release on called "It Just Hit Me." That it's just a fun song to write. It's not a personal story or anything like that. But that's going to be coming out. My dear friend and gifted. Everything. Jim Frazier produced that project. He has a company called B-Side Productions. I know you guys have worked with Jim.
I was just going to say, we've only ever worked with Jim on the only album we've ever done.
Yeah, Jim produced Sarah's album.
Yeah,
and it was killer.
He's so good.
He's so good. He's worked with so many people. He worked recently with Danny Goki, Brad Paisley, people like that. He's just up and coming. But we've played music together as a duo for 30 years. Yeah. So no one knows me better musically than that guy. And I'm just so excited about this thing coming out. Yeah. So
Well, so people need to go to that Facebook page, go to that website, and follow for all of the updates and things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll be sending, we'll be doing all the, all the things where you send it out through Google and YouTube and things like that, the advertisements for it. So it'll be coming out.
Awesome.
Just got to get things like money together for that.
It's always something. Well,
it's always something.
It's funny. So you just said that. We were about to wrap up, but I'm going to go back for a second because you just reminded me. I had a question earlier. You mentioned a couple of times where your parents were instrumental in helping you take a next step.
Yes.
Your dad in the car saying, well, son, songwriting is a way that people can make a living. Your family supporting you financially to get into the studio. Things like that. For that generation, that's maybe a little unusual.
Yes.
And that's something that we are really passionate about is sharing those stories, but then also encouraging parents to train up a child, to find out what they're gifted in, to find out what the talents and gifts that God has given them, and to encourage them in that. And that's something that my parents have done really well with their 3 kids, including myself.
Yes.
Of course.
And I just wanted to touch on that and highlight that because you mentioned it a couple times, but I really wanted to shine light on that example, but then also ask you, how has that translated to you and your 10 children and your grandchildren and how is that something you guys are like acutely aware of is, man, they're good at X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
Things like
Absolutely. Sarah, thanks for bringing that up. If I could be like anyone ever who I would want to be like, it'd be my dad, because my parents always, my dad and my mom, just always loved me no matter what, and always encouraged me. Yeah, a cool moment coming up. They saw giftings in my sister. They saw giftings in me, in my brother, just always encouraged us, to find our way, of course, always in the Lord, but to find our way, and things my father would always say to me, my father was an avid Stephen Covey, these kind of people. But my father would always say, in whatever you do, work as though it's all up to you and pray as though it's all up to God. And I have so many of those phrases that I pass on to my kids, that I know they think they're mine. I ripped them off from my dad, but and every once in a while T.S. Eliot, but it's okay.
There you go.
But just pouring in the best that you can do is, Diane, is you just gotta love your kids. They drive you crazy sometimes, but you just love them. And when you see something in them that is from God, we all have giftings from God. We all have passions that we believe were given to us by the Lord. That encouraged to chase those. Coolest moment coming up. My mom always said to me, we're going to see you on Johnny Carson, the equivalent of Jimmy Fallon now, same show, and, my mom passed away 3 years ago in January, but my father's coming up for Father's Day and still very much grieving the loss of my mom. Forward is not something he's been able to do very well. But I'm going to be one of the featured artists on Huckabee that night. And we're bringing in my dad. They're going to give him the royal treatment, and so for my mom to always say, we're going to see you on television, for my dad to be there in the audience when that actually happens, that's a big deal. And only God can orchestrate those kinds of things. So, Sarah, I know that in things that you have done, you've done some amazing big things. Oh my word, that movie you did, gee whiz, on both of them.
Thank you.
It really does honor your mom. It really does.
Yeah, never thought of it that way.
It does.
But
I mean, she used to tell me about you, just the crazy things. You knew every line from The Emperor's New Groove.
That's it. I peaked right then. I'm just kidding.
It's really funny, Sam. Sarah and I write stories all the time, and we come up with these ideas, and we act on half of what we come up with, but every single storyline we've ever written. I'll come back from a road trip and it'd be like, you'd be just visiting in the office or whatever, because he was
I've been a great sounding board, maybe.
And I just tell you, and you're like, yeah, that's good. That works. Okay, yeah. Anyway, it's just great that I had those 12 years to share with you all of the ideas.
Well, I'm amazed at both of you and what you do. I'm amazed at it. It's not my gift. And I'm in awe of the talent of both you two. And working together, man, sometimes that didn't work out so well. Look at you guys. So cool.
That's so true. But, and just a tiny sliver that we've never really talked about this, but I think you said something that sparked a thought. And it's that, we have said that to people. We could never do what you do.
Yes.
And you just said that to us. And I think that is so, I don't know, for Christians to support other Christians and what they're doing and to be like, man, I could never do that. That's from God. And like naming that and speaking life and the word over that, I think that is just a huge part of what we need to be doing. Amen. And what this is all about. And so we for sure don't have the glass is always full. We don't have that. And we definitely don't have the singer-songwriter gift. And so we are so proud of you. And we just want to speak life and success and God's blessing and provision into your life and over all of the exciting things you've got coming up. We're so proud of you. And we're so proud to be your friend.
Thank you, Sarah and Diane. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I mean, just for me to be on here is kind of surreal. I mean, I've seen, quite a few of these that you guys have done, and I'm just floored. I think I texted you, Diane, this morning. I'm not that interesting. Are you sure?
This is your last chance to back out.
I know. Please think about this, okay?
No, this has been awesome.
No, you knew how badly we wanted you.
Yes,
so
this has
great.
been great. Well, we're so grateful, and we love you.
Love
and
you
we're praying
guys so
for
much.
you, and so thank you so much. And we'll see you later.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Sam.
See ya.
See you guys.
For more information on Project Brickworks and how you can get involved, visit us online at projectbrickworks.org. To subscribe to our newsletter, text BRICK to 55498. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Like our Facebook page, and if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and turn on notifications. If you're listening to this on a podcast, please subscribe and be encouraging with your rating. We love you all. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time.